Okay, now I have music fixed. That was really unexpected. Okay, now I have music fixed. That was... so, what happened was that Windows installed the newest update, and of course, during the update they broke something. And first, the XSplit broadcaster didn't notice that I have monitor anymore. I had to set it up again. And yeah, first of all, it took like half an hour to install the updates. Then the XSplit broadcaster said that I don't have monitor anymore. I had to reset it. And then Windows said that I don't have any sound anymore, because something went wrong with it. But yeah, I had to reinstall the entire drivers for the sound card. But now everything seems to be fine. I can hear the sounds. Probably you can hear me, because I tried. And the stream is back to normal. So, yep. What I did in the meantime, I've downloaded the 2021-0b2, the beta version of the same stuff I used alpha version of, and I'll try to migrate the project in there, because the earlier I do... Really? Because the earlier I do this, the better it will be. For some reason this thing sent me to a different desktop. Project to a newer version. The project was created with older version as part of a great Unity may change your scripts and blah blah blah. Yeah, confirm, of course. Go ahead. And where is and of course Unity is opening in a wrong desktop now, because why would it open in the right one? Yeah, the Windows 10 has this fancy support of multi-desktop stuff out of the box. You click Command Tab, or you can click Control Command right or left, and you make this magic happen. As usual, any updates between versions of Unity cause this stuff. It runs for some time. It does something. Nobody knows what. Usually, when the project is comparatively big, everything is broken afterwards, and you press run and it doesn't work, and you have to fix everything, like absolutely everything. But I hope this is not the case, because this is not a major version, this is really small project, and I saw that blue stuff in here too, which made me a bit nervous, but everything seems to be fine. Yeah, so we still have the mouse. Ha! There is that blue over there, and I see the blue colors every once in a while. Yep. Here it was. Oh, I know what it is. It's the new thing where Unity loads stuff for me. So, like, I don't know that I need the stuff, but Unity does, and it starts loading. That's funny. This delay in the middle, I should remove it. It feels bad. It just doesn't feel right. Given that I'm using a special control for this, I should just remove that block. And let's basically begin with it. So, by our plan, what I wanted to do today is to set up this character controller over here to be able to actually collide camera with stuff. I should first search for best practices on how it's done, because... What is this? Chocolate. Chocolate again. Come on. I have to first look for how it's done, because... So, one second. This was the pitch knob, and I wanted this. And here, let's double check that we don't have anything else. Yep. And here there was this delay previous diff is not equal to 0, blah blah blah, if math abs, blah blah blah. Okay, so we remove this block out like this, and now we won't have this posed thing in the middle, which doesn't make sense for this type of control. Also, I might as well hide the pitch and bar, I might as well change the colors for the hand, but meh. Let me think about it for a second. Yeah, basically let's do this. Is pitching equals false. We're building a prototype, we don't need everything beautiful. The controls I have more or less explain what is happening. I will need some UI on top of this, so let's just not make unnecessary changes. Let's go... What? No, this should stay here, and what shouldn't? Where is this thing? Oh, I see, it's on top. And it's on top over there. Okay. Never mind. I have another window of Chrome open, but usually it shows only what is on the same desktop. This time it showed me what is on the different one, and I wanted to hide it somehow. It's like, you know, when you have one desktop with porn open and on the other desktop you try to stream something and you have some work to do, or you're sharing to your colleagues, you don't really want them to see what's on the different desktop anymore. This is not the case, but you can see the generic approach. So, the general approach here. So, Unity camera collider. How to get camera to collide with objects? That's what I was talking about. You should enable this trigger property on Fitch collider, and then it will call on trigger when collides. Also, you can use ray tracing for camera movement. It's not always needed, and it's heavier than normal collision checking, but use it if you need it. Okay, good. If camera collides with something, I would assume that we need to move camera and not that something. Question is where to move camera, and if we want to move it forever or just for some time. Based on how our controls are made, that you can change anything anytime, most likely we will need to keep it. But there is this height above the ground. I'm thinking if we can save something from the camera to adjust it back to the desired position. So let's imagine we have some arc. I will continue using Paint for this. So let's imagine we have some arc like this, and we have some terrain over here, and we're moving with the camera. We look from here to there. I hope you're slightly imagining what's happening. We're looking through the arc, and then we're going through the arc, and then we are moving through the arc. Yellow is better, green is better. We're moving through the arc, and then at some point the camera will bump down because of the collisions. Let's assume we made them right, and then it will bump back up. Can I save anything to make this happen? This camera is not following anything. I cannot trust the distance from the ground. I can trust the height above everything else. And that would kind of make sense. So I can just remember the y coordinate for this matter, and it will just work. The question is if it will work for any other reason. I should not rotate camera, probably. Yeah, so it should look in the same direction or at the same spot when we're moving somewhere. When we're moving somewhere, it should still look at the hand, and the hand should still be in the same position of the screen, because that's what we were forcing ourselves to do. Which means I can make a backwards trace from the position where the object is, if we collide with something, and trace back whatever I should be doing. That sounds reasonable. Let's try doing that. I don't say this. I don't think I will ever show this to anyone again. Or even, I don't think I would want to look at this anymore. Okay, so we don't need the character controller on camera. We'll just remove it. Character controller removed. Nice. Apply. Yeah, I like this thing where they allow every specific controller to be applied to prefab or rolled back. This is really nice. That's what I like. Before, you had to navigate by those black stuff, like something is modified, and then if you didn't like something, that was a mess. You had to manually revert some stuff and put it back in. That was really long ago. I didn't see Unity for a long time. They are making such a good work. No wonder they're getting all the money. Sphere Collider. So I'll need the Sphere Collider here. I will make it bigger. One. Or even bigger. So I'm going to collide with terrain only. I'm not going to collide with anything else ever. Because you can walk through trees with the camera, no one cares. Making the trees semi-transparent, for that matter, is a separate tricky topic, which we might cover one day or might not, we'll see. The bigger the collider is, like, big collider gives some advantages and some disadvantages. The advantage is that I will catch the collision with the ground. I will totally catch it. There is no way I can miss this. The downside is that I feel like I can go down here, but the big collider will not let me to. The big collider will limit how far from the ground I can be. But again, we can set some random number in there and then just see how it feels. That's the game, we should see how it plays. That's the best we can do. Then, we only care about camera collisions during movement. All the other time, nothing matters. Which means, let me just close this. Which means we should put it into the PC controls anyway, because it's related to controls, means it's related to everything around this. Yeah, I don't like to say it, but we'll have to put this code here. As you might have noticed if you have seen my previous videos, previous streams, I like to split things apart, but sometimes it's better to put everything together. So this PC control scripts does everything that is related to PC controls. And camera collision is more or less related. More or less. Maybe more, maybe less. Oh yeah, and there is the thing that I can remember. So for different types of movement, I still can remember different things to restore everything back. For example, for rotation, I keep the distance from the initial object always the same. For this movement, I also keep the distance the same. I'm actually rotating around different parts of reality. Oh, but that doesn't matter, because the rotation is in different coordinates. Or I'm rotating around. Yeah, I'm rotating around the position. Okay, that's good. So I always keep the same distance, which means I can remember the distance and then I can restore it back. Okay. Private float desired distance equals -1. I will be able to explain it a bit later. I can say that it's even desired skewer distance. Yes, most likely. I will need to think about it. That doesn't matter, we're not making anything high load yet. Then, let's do this. Region and false. And here we'll end region. What the region tag does, it allows me to collapse everything. Then what on trigger, on trigger, on not trigger, on trigger enter. And what is the signature for this? On trigger enter collider. Good. On trigger enter collider. Okay. Good. And now we should move it in the direction to avoid this collision. Let's think about it a bit more. There should be some weird corner cases where we're moving somewhere and the collision happens right here, and I don't want to move forwards through stuff. No, there is no way I'm moving forward here. There is a way I'm moving sideways over here. And then I want, first option is I can stop the rotation, but that would be bad. The other option is I can move forward till the point where I'm not touching this anymore. But with that movement we'll have a slight issue. We will need to find the actual place where we can land the camera. How do we find it? Let's imagine we're colliding right here while doing the movement to the left. If we're doing the movement to the left, we can only collide on the left and vice versa, because that kind of makes sense. And if we're moving forward, we cannot collide with anything because of how our controls are made. No, we can, right here. We can go right through the realm. Okay, let's think about it later. Rotations go first. If I'm rotating left, then I should do raycast from the middle of the camera, most likely find the nearest spot on the terrain where I can land and try and land there. Try and land right there without any smoothing or anything. This will just not work. And also I should find the nearest spot to move, which is upward this time. Do I need to somehow analyze the slope to do this? Probably I do. Do I want to? Of course I don't. I'm thinking what I can do around here to make it work better. So we have the camera, we have the collider. We can make it like roll over here. What is rolling? Rolling is keeping the same distance from this stuff. Let's do some more research, because it might be useful. There might be some simple solution for this. For school, the camera collides with any scenery object. What was now? Having the following problem: the camera constantly leaves and enters the object collide. Blah blah blah. Okay, yeah, that's the shaking camera problem. We know about this. It doesn't help. Cast from the player to your default camera position. So there is some collision point. It's the point where I collide. This point is somewhere inside the collider of the camera, but that doesn't really matter. There is a line between the camera and that point. Will it give me any useful information at all? No, it will not. So there is this slope. Nah. Let's make it a fine slope, like this. And I'm moving camera. I'm moving it from here, colors, from here to there. Since when the paint became so clever that it does things for me? Moving it there, and at some point it collides. Like this. Like this. It means that it entered the collision already. I will get this collision point some point over here. Other dot closest point returns a point on the collider that is closest to a given location. Closest point and bounds in the bounding box of the attached collider. Okay. So here is my camera, and I want to start moving up. So I want to keep this distance while still maintaining the movement in the same direction. So I will need to adjust the height of the camera, and that is all I need to adjust here. I will need to adjust the height so it leaves the collision area. That's all. How do I do that? I can find this distance. Green. I can find this distance. This distance. I know this distance. I know the radius. And I should lift up till the moment I leave. So yeah, basically I need this point. This is the only thing I need. Because I should move middle, so it will leave this point area. And we know the distances between 2 points, which will help us. Okay, let's find the point. Vision point. Point equals other dot closest point to transform position. Why void? I meant var. Then we will need to move by some amount. To make the distance bigger, I need to measure this amount of this projected movement. More colors for the colors god. This movement in that direction. So this will leave the collision zone. Let's imagine that I'm always sure that there is nothing on top of me. Let's just make our terrain two-dimensional. That's a fair limitation for a strategic game, because going under the stuff and over the stuff, and also Unity terrain doesn't support 3 dimensions. So if there are some bridges somewhere on top, we'll just go right through them, we wouldn't care. That would help us a lot. But I still need to measure this distance somehow. This distance, so I can measure how far I need to move in that direction. That's really straightforward. Then I will need to project this. Will it be enough? I'm thinking, sorry. So let's say I need to move a bit there, just a bit. And if I project it here, it will get even smaller. But I need to move in that direction further out. Or do I? I probably don't. Now, of course, I will need to move further. Okay, let's remove all this stuff. Yep. Let's draw a circle and let's think circles. There is this circle. Please. Circle. There is this point somewhere somewhere inside the circle. This paint is like drawing in paint is pretty bad. Don't use paint for drawing stuff. And if you're thinking about something at home, it's usually better to use just a simple piece of paper, for that matter. But right now I'm on the stream, as you might have noticed, or I'm doing a video if you're watching this on YouTube afterwards. So I need to show stuff. You won't see what I'm doing on the paper. Okay, then we have this point. We know how far we should move in that direction. We need to calculate how far we should move in that direction. We should find a point on this line. Let's draw some tiny line of gray color. So on this line we should find a second point. Please don't change colors of stuff. That will have the required distance. So that will be on the radius distance. So here it will be radius. What do we know about all those points? We know coordinates of those two, so we know anything we want about them. We know this distance. We know this distance, of course. So if I know two sides, it's not enough to calculate the third side of a triangle, I believe. Yeah, of course, it's not enough. But I also know that it's on this line. That should help me somehow. Let's pick some formulas around this. Let's hide this. So, some formulas. We have point A, B, and C. This A, this B, whoa, B, and this is, you know, my handwriting is pretty bad, but this is much worse. This is so much worse. Okay, A, we'll have x1, y1. We'll move to three-dimensional coordinates as soon as we understand what is happening there. B, YB, and C, it's XC, YC. We know that XC minus XA squared plus XYC minus YA squared equals R squared. Then we know that YA equals YB. So that means we can find XC. We'll know that XC minus XA squared plus... Okay, so at this point we can move to 3 dimensions. And let's think about 3 dimensions now. We should move Y only, which means X and Z will stay the same. So what we know is this. Z... What is YX? YC? ZC minus ZA squared. We add it here, and we know that XC equals XB and ZC equals ZB, which gives us this formula: YC minus YA squared equals R squared minus those two guys minus both of them. Then we do square t out of this, and we add YA. So now we have calculated the new position for our camera. Those are those 3 coordinates. The problem here is non-existent, I believe. Okay, there is a problem here. We should just find it. On trigger enter runs after late update, I think. Enter late update sequence. Where is on trigger enter in execution order? Execution order. On here. Thank you. Thank you. What? They made the entire manual page pictures. You cannot find anything on pictures. Why? Why would a person do this? So first goes physics with triggers, then comes game logic, then scene rendering, then GUI rendering. which means that our late update will run as the last part of game logic. Then on the next step we will notice that we have moved too far down, too far into the something. So we'll need the collider bigger, but that doesn't change too much. Second thing is we should know if we're still colliding with something or not. Let's say on late update we'll say that we're not colliding with anything anymore, because we just fixed it, hopefully. We fixed it on trigger. Late update, late update, late update, late update, late update, late update, late update. I'm just thinking that we can project where we're going to move, throw a raycast in from the position, but I don't know where to throw the raycast. We can find the closest collider. No. Unity find collider. For each collider in enemy colliders distance vector. Wow, no way. And you know, this code works. That's really good. This code works, but don't do this. Use squared distance, because you will use the same formula, but one extra square root is quite a lot if you do this often. But we don't want to go through colliders and do that crap. Collider in colliders, colliders get components, colliders point on bounds, point B distance. Okay, got it. So everyone is scrolling through all the colliders and trying to find something. We're not going that route. I just don't like that. I'm just thinking that I can pass from trigger event the up movement into the late update, not to change camera positions in two places. But honestly, that doesn't matter. That shouldn't matter at all. Given that we're using user input is usually slow. And we have two-dimensional everything, which means we cannot start moving up and hit something. There is nothing. We made sure there is nothing. Okay, let's call it, that was A, where B equals transform dot position int B, and where C equals B, but C dot Y will be slightly different. It will be this. I'm thinking if I should put collider in here or let's make it just know about its own collider. Okay, so we already have the collider. No. Dot. No. Never mind. So let's keep all settings. Limiting wheel size, max 6, minix. Let's move this here. And this, let's keep this here. Nah. Public sphere collider, my collider. Yeah, it is null. I don't expect it to be null ever, but dot radius multiplied by. This time let's use math.sqr. Okay, we will not use it. We will just honestly multiply everything. What? XP. Okay. B.x, A.x multiplied by the same stuff. I am always sure that this thing will be more or equal to 0, so I'm not afraid to take in square root from this. But I might consider being more cautious. Because we're talking colliders here, we're not talking some weird stuff. What do you want? Yeah, sure. The thing that I used for power in C# is something else. XOR? Probably XOR. Exclusive OR, so-called. A.y. And the semicolon. And your GMP equals this if GMP is more than 0. Sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry. I will never figure what is throwing exception and why my camera is flying to hell. This is not the formula you want to debug. And the results of square root, throwing exceptions or returning something weird is really not something you want to deal with. So just double check your variables. And then transform.position equals C. Let's see where it will lead us. So right now I'm not remembering anything. And modified component apply. What? Oh yeah, I see. Apply all. That's good. I didn't know that the sphere collider is that sphere collider should be in the prefab. Okay, let's go. So let's move here. Let's do our what? Okay, that was me doing something wrong. Should choose the point to rotate around so that I actually do hit something. Okay, so I'm still getting into trouble. Yeah, the collider is not hitting. And I probably know why. This thing in the layer ignore raycast. But the ignore raycast doesn't give me much information about what is happening. And the hand is on the same layer. Should the hand collide with the ground? Tricky question, I think nobody knows yet. So let's close all this and let's search for Unity Vision Layers Disk. Hope to ignore between a layer and a layer mask. No, not this. Not this. There is this setting somewhere not in the code, but in the project itself. So let's go project settings, tags, sort layers, sorting layers, tags, physics, default. So right now everything collides with everything. Except it doesn't. Okay, let's put 3 in here, just to make sure we're not moving too fast or something. And let's I wonder if, yeah, on trigger enter should be if someone enters my trigger and not if I'm entering somebody else's trigger later. The others thing doesn't make any sense. Debug lock. I'm here. Let's do this. And let's try again. So let's move here and scroll in, then just do this, and we'll see that in console there is nothing. This collision doesn't work. Why? Because terrain data, blah blah blah, layer default. Okay, trigger collider. Not working. Okay, this is popular. Both your objects are reached. Oh yeah, reached body. Of course. It's is kinematic. I don't remember what it means, but I just know that it should be there or shouldn't. Is kinematic. So yeah, is kinematic. What it means. Whether physics affects the rigid body. If it enables force collisions or joints will not affect the rigid body anymore. If is enabled, okay, so it should be enabled because I care about it. It should be in the extrapolate state. Should be collision detection. Collision detection mode, this stuff. Continuous collision detection, which is used to prevent first movement of passing through objects for the best results of this value. Moving on, these need to collide such as continuous. These two options have big impact on physics performance. That you can set continuous speculative, which is generally cheaper and can be used on kinematic. Collisions first, leave it to the discrete. So with discrete, if I'm moving too fast again, it will stop. It will not collide. And for the camera and for the type of the code we just wrote, it's going to be a disaster. But it should be fine in this exact case. Because we're moving with user input, and user input is usually slow. If the user input gets too fast, then it's a problem of a user. He's probably hacking something. Yeah, who cares about hackers? Used with box collider, sphere collider, and convex mesh collider. Okay, so this thing doesn't work. Unity collision point collision.contacts. Contact points generated, but you should avoid using it as it produces memory garbage. Get contact. Okay. So let's just go into get contact instead of this. Awesome, thank you. Collision, and this is collider. Contact offset, closest point. What? Unity on trigger enter, get collision point. This. Collision on collision enter. Doesn't handle collision information, just detects if there was a collision. However, return office trigger and add rigid body to the body with the collider. Right, and make it a kinematic, then it would function just like a trigger. Okay. This thing here, they suggest using on collision enter and not trigger. And it should work because this object is kinematic and we're controlling all the stuff manually. So it should be on collision enter, and it should be collision and collision dot get contact. And the index on the contact retrieve. I don't really care. Like, give me anything to work with. Contact point dot point. Okay, let's do this. I like that they even have the normal. Not like I need it this time, but it's useful. Nope, still doesn't work. Like this. Rigid bodies, sphere collider is trigger on collision. Oh, it's not entering. Because it's not on collision enter. It is. Meh. That's a nice suggestion. For example, for terrain, of course, it will not work. Point of contact on trigger enter, on collision enter, get collision.contacts, so where's your list of contact points? According to this, it seems it can be done because a collider doesn't store collision information. Of course it doesn't. You could just use the transform.position of the projectile inside your trigger enter. Awesome. That's so awesome. Thank you so much. This is not what I'm looking for. Okay. Unity on collision enter. Not working. I even remember I searched for this at some point, like for all of this stuff. And on collision enter terrain. The droid doesn't start with the tag of terrain. Okay, those are tags. I don't care about tags. I'm using a box collider on the water, so it looks like you're saying that the water is a box collider, or the boat is blah 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 blah. Okay. On collision enter method detect terrain. Bunch and mines. Dynamic. Terrain collider. Sphere collider, blah blah blah. I'm just trying to find something useful. Contact offset. Returns a point in this collider closest to a given location. This doesn't work. Terrain. Nah. They don't even tell us that it doesn't work on terrain. Not documented. Must be edited first, followed by the collider. What? Really? But that's 2017. I just hope this is not true. Sphere collider. 1.5. Safe. Let's go. No, it doesn't care. It doesn't care at all. What? Why? What the heck? Interpolate? So I'm not even moving that fast. I'm moving really slow here. Let's say continuous. Speculative continuous. Okay, let's do continuous speculative. I'm fine with that. I just want my collision. I want to collide with this terrain, but I cannot. Yeah, I can check the direction I was moving in and all that, but that feels so wrong. I just don't want to do this. I can basically recast in the direction I was moving in and get the point from there. I would have to save the previous position every single time, which sounds awful. But do I have any other options? Looks like I don't. Use gravity, use kinematic. Why doesn't it work? I wonder. Yeah, okay, yeah, let's override this all. Set from the previous import. This shouldn't happen. So you will not override this, am I right? Okay, you will. That's good. And my collider didn't work, but I didn't get any exceptions because it just didn't work. How and why? Both must have a collider attached. Wait a second. This is terrain collider. This is terrain collider. And I'm sure that the trigger collider worked. I mean here, when it was trigger, on trigger enter worked. But now without trigger it doesn't. Why? Interpolate. We don't need extrapolate. Mesh collider cannot collide with the other mesh collider, even if colliders are marked as trigger. One of the two must have a rigid body. Collision between game objects can be selective enabled by layer-based collision detection. Just awesome. Why doesn't this work? Yeah, the collider having a rigid body. Take a look at this. On collision enter. On collision enter, collision. Am I typing this right? Just to be sure. Yep, I do. It just doesn't work. Like, this is what you usually do when you're a software engineer. You see stuff like this and you wonder why stuff doesn't work, and it then continues not working. Yeah, so I'm totally getting through the terrain, and it doesn't care at all, and the step is really small. And even the hand notices that there is nothing afterwards. So there is something here and then there is nothing. But I still don't get the collision. Why? Thoughts, ideas, suggestions? I don't see any reason for it to not work. But there must be one. Rigid body, it's enabled. Okay, this is not interesting. Okay, if both are kinematic rigid bodies, then on collision enter will not be called. The first physics update with the collision is called during. With normal non-trigger, there is additional detail. At least one of the objects involved must have a non-kinematic rigid body. If both objects are kinematic, then on collision enter will not work. With trigger, it doesn't apply. Okay, so it should be kinematic. It should not be kinematic, but if I remove kinematic from this, it will bounce. Forces, collisions, or joints will not affect under full control of animation or script. Affect the motion of other rigid bodies through collisions or joints. Okay. Let's do this. I don't want closest point on bounce, because it will not work. This is just no. How to find the closest point on a plane? By formula. Okay, good. We didn't find any proper solution for this, but we still can do something. We can switch back to trigger collider, because we need this rigid body to be kinematic. And here we'll say on trigger enter collider. Then we'll track the vector 3 is position equals vector 3 dot room. On late update, regardless of whatever we did, let's make it still joint else's instead of returns, so I can put some common logic in there. What's this? And let's move this in like this. And let's remove stuff. And now here we'll say this transform dot position. Do I even need the collider then? Because I can just do the recasting and detect that something is going wrong right here. But physics is a single raycast on every. Okay, it might actually be an interesting case. Void says collision. I can just manually write this code. If previous camera position is not equal to vector 3.0. In real life, it's never equal to 0 when it's not the beginning of the script. It's just not happening ever. So we're fine with that. Then here, B is current position, and to find A, we'll need to do if physics raycast from B into direction of a ray. It doesn't tell me that it should be normalized, so should be B minus previous camera position, then max distance is the radius of our collider, but we might move it into something else, so let's just have 2f in here, and here let's put the layer mask. Let's put the layer mask. We have it somewhere over here. Public. Hands. Oops. It should be here, as I remember. It was somewhere over here. Ray out. Out hit. Out for hit. So now we'll just use an extra raycast on each frame. Hit dot point. Like this. And let's see if we ever enter this collider stuff. Yep, we do. Yeah, because I've wrote a good code. I'm just not calling it. This first, and we'll need to remember the height that we wanted to have. Desired distance is assigned, but value is never used. Okay, that's good. I will not care about it any longer soon. Whoop, whoop, yay! So now it works, and we didn't ever trigger the actual collision. So we can remove the rigid body and everything for good. I don't say that our code is anyhow better than the default physics. Believe me, it's worse. I mean, physics is cool, and you see, right now we're not detecting this collision at all. I wonder why. Oh, because moving in that direction. Yeah, there is something wrong about this. Wait a sec. I'm just thinking if it's just 2 meters, so it's not enough, or that. So the problem is that we're moving sideways, but we're hitting the collision starting from the bottom, and by the moment we hit it sideways, we're already inside. To fix that, we'll move the initiation point minus vector 3 dot up multiplied by 2 by 1. I've just taken half of radius. I think it should be enough. Nope, it's not enough. Why then? There is something wrong about it. I mean, there is something terribly wrong. It doesn't even try. Yeah, okay. No, it's middle button. That's not it. That's not the case. Okay, let's remove the collider. Come on. Come on. Let's remove this component. Let's remove this component. Let's apply all of this stuff. Then, yeah, we don't need this on trigger anymore. Oh yeah, I know why it wasn't called meh. Sideways hitting something, we're gonna get too close to stuff. But if we're looking from below, then we should not. Okay, let's do this manually. And let's remove this Michaelator stuff. And here, let's say 2 by 2. Then I will change these numbers into variables as soon as this stuff starts working properly. Let's see what happens there. Because the hit should happen sooner or later, but it should. It shouldn't be just totally ignored like it is. Yeah, there is this hit. See? But if I'm moving... So the problem is that sometimes I'm moving too fast, and it's most of the time. So here, if we say 4 and if we say 2, we're flying around too fast, which I didn't expect to happen, because 2 meters is a lot of difference for a single frame, and all our movements looked rather smooth. Yep, again we're falling through. Let's measure this. So this is the distance between some point and some other point. It doesn't really matter which points. Oh, it's negative. Okay, so by the time we hit something, it's already negative. How can it be negative? Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. 4 multiplied by 4. Okay. So the problem is that I'm expecting the collision to happen inside, but I'm calculating distance as if it's outside. So I should have smaller size here than there. That's just it. Let's then try like this again. There's 1, 2, and here I will just put 1. No, vice versa, 3. So I will make sure that the point is always inside the sphere that I'm working with. If you remember the stuff I was drawing right here, I will make sure that this point is always inside, because otherwise, of course, I'm running into trouble. Which makes sense? No. This didn't help. So still 2 seems to be too small. 4, whatever. We just need something. And here we'll put 5s. It starts to look ridiculous. It starts to feel like I'm doing something wrong. Those random numbers don't give me too much explanation on why stuff is not working properly. I guess I might have to move it for tomorrow. It became negative at some point, but that didn't matter anymore. Because why would it? Still see this issue. I'm not making such big of a movement, to be honest. But it feels as if I am. So you see it works in there, but it doesn't work on the more flat surfaces. This was an interesting jump. I didn't anticipate that. So sometimes we still fall through the ground. I believe it's this slope, because it's too small. I have no clue why we were running through the ground and why we are not anymore, and that makes me feel weird. I like to be in control of whatever my code is doing. So yeah, we hit the issue if we're moving too fast. If the slope is too small and we're moving too fast, the combination of those two parameters. Oh, and also one more thing. The fact that I'm running it from below the surface might bring issues and not solutions. If I'm not hitting anything within the next 4 meters, I shouldn't just care at all if there is anything below me. Like, I'm fine with people getting close to the ground. I'm not fine with them going through the ground. Yep, that solved the issue. So the problem was that I used some heuristics and the heuristics didn't work. And I was trying to figure out why. Okay, it still doesn't work. Damn. Okay, this. And I know. Previous camera position. And okay, let's add a parameter here. Camera collider size equals something. Collider radius equals 3f. So, point here is that we'll use this here, we'll use it here, but we'll also multiply it by, let's say, extra 30%, multiplied by 1.3, 169. Okay, so let's yeah, I like the number. Let's multiply it by this. But the distance we should travel. The distance we should measure is slightly weird. Can we get into the point where... No, we're moving up all the time, so... Yeah, there should be no issues around this stuff. I'm wondering what will happen with our formula if we're here. But because it will make us move down, not up. There are two solutions to this thing. One is with positive difference and the other with negative, so we can always move down. I calculated that we're moving in which direction? In whichever. So there is plus and minus square root of this. I've used plus, means I'm always moving up. Okay, good. So then distance will be previous camera position minus b dot magnitude plus camera collision radius divided by 2. Does this make any sense? No, it more or less doesn't. So I'm trying to measure in how far I should do this. And why I'm doing this is if we're moving too fast, then we can still find this point, but it will not help. Whatever. Just forget about it. What's up? Double to float. Let's float. Let's run this. Let's check if it works or not. Did it just go right through this? No, I did not. Okay, good. And now this doesn't work again. But if I put, let's say, 5 over here, will this help? Nope, does not. 8. So we're really jumping up now. Yeah, the jump is too significant. Okay, got it. So sphere collider, rigid body. It is not using gravity, it is kinematic. This is trigger. Right on trigger, enter collider, and this will say that I'll need let's keep it discrete and see where it goes. I will still need to run this. Oh, I maybe know why it didn't work. Yep. I should probably sleep more, because here we'll need to do this. I wonder if direction should be normalized. Basically should not be, but who knows? Who knows? Okay, this looks much better now. Yeah, there was a bug that I was raycasting from wrong place. So you see, it's still possible to get this bug. but it is not as significant anymore. I can try to change into 4, and then most likely it will totally disappear. Even like this, it's not that easy to catch it anymore. Let's pick some point on the distance and let's move faster. And you see, even if I move faster, it still skips this thing. So I will put 4 in here and I'll keep it 3. And again we can remove back all this nonsense. Remove. What happened? Oh yeah, I see. This. Then, the problem around this stuff is that we're not returning back to desired position. Desired Y. If we don't have any problems with this stuff, so if we're not hitting anything, then if physics recast, if is more or equal to 0. Okay, so if we're moving it upwards, we should move it back sometime, and that's what we'll do. Equals true, then desired y equals bit y, then on top of this, if move camera back down, but if we're pitching, then back down equals false. We force it to not move camera back down, because if we're pitching into something and it doesn't let us, we just don't care enough. We shouldn't do anything about it. And physics recast from B vector 3 to down. Max distance is camera collider radius, and hands layers. And again, I forgot the out hit. Okay. Public float. Moving down. Speed. Let's say we want to move down by 1 meter per second. And here we will do this. Transform dot move. There was this 2 position something. One vector transform to string local. move to position or something. Vector 3 dot yeah, unity transform move towards vector 3 move towards, to move from the position to move towards max distance delta. Yep. Calculate the position between the distance specified by max distance delta. Okay, so it's B, target is B minus target equals B, target at Y equals desired Y. ZY, and max distance is moving down speed multiplied by time dot delta time. Target transform dot position equals this. So now we're trying to move the camera back. If from position minus target dot skew, what? Dot skew magnitude is less than constants really small. Then camera back down equals false. Something like this. I wonder if it will make camera shake at some point, because we have the collider radius over here and we have a bit more over there, so it might get a bit shaky. I hope it will not though. So what I'm looking at is this. Okay, not the best example of what I was trying to do. I was trying to do this. So let's move around slowly. It's a bit too slow. I want to make it, let's say, 5. Sure, so I'm jumping over stuff and then I'm slowly getting back. This looks a bit weird. So if I put some big number over here, then it should start to look jumpy in both directions. I don't really like how it jumps around. That's because I allow fast movements. So I would call that this should be some reasonable number, but the rotation should be smoother. So this process rotation, this angle should be divided by 3, for example. And let's call it public float rotation sensitivity equals 0.3. This. something like this. And now we can make this number smaller again, because it will be harder to move that fast. Huh. Oh, I see what's the point in there. Oh, the kid is waking up and calling me. I'm sorry, I need to go AFK for a second. Yep. So yeah, it looks buggy and I don't really like this. So you know what I want to do about this stuff? I want to do it somehow better. But maybe next time, not today, because today it's getting a bit too late for me. So we made the controls a bit smoother, but now we see this issue with jumping and moving back. This jumping and moving back is a bit too bad. Hum. Okay, fine. I should go to sleep, so it's not something I will complete today anyway. I get to acknowledge it and do something different. Process collisions with camera. I tried to make a jumpy version. It jumps up to avoid collisions and then slowly descends back. And that didn't work, let's be honest, because this shaky thing, I don't like it. What should work is the following. First, rotate to move up, as if we're pitching. Second, we should be able to find the closest point on the terrain. And not some random one. It will make stuff smoother because we'll do it on each frame, and given that we're using user control, mouse input and whatever, it will feel fine for the user, and also given that we now limited the sensitivity and made it adjustable. And descent should go the same way. We should find the nearest point, we should calculate how far we can go down, and we should pitch back. This is what should happen. And this will look much nicer. It will require a bit more math, but we'll do it. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. See you tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. We'll see. I'm yet figuring my schedule for the streams. And yeah, of course, I should not forget to check stuff in. Try stuff. Didn't work that well. And here I should put some comments for myself for tomorrow. In this case, pitch, don't just lift. Again, pitch and follow surface with a question mark, because maybe yeah, following the surface will be much better. Even though the surface is shaky, it will just feel more natural. So follow the surface. Learn to find nearest collision point on terrain. And those are all to-dos. Yeah, I hoped that it will not take much time, but suddenly figured that some of the stuff I wanted to work doesn't work. Okay, we'll figure something next time. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.